All right, so Gemma will project the agenda in a second, but so again, anyway, to sort of take care of our test cases. So currently we have the test case wiki for all of our ISO tests, and we historically had also used that wiki for application testing. Now that the application tests are sort of sitting in a bizarre branch, due to me migrating them out into checkbox application testing that we did last cycle.
Can someone switch on the projector, please? It's just not happening.
So this is just sort of a brainstorming session to see if we think it's possible to support both of those ideas, both for ISO testing and for our application testing, and if we can have the isotracker be expanded to incorporate getting results from both those cases as well as managing those test cases. So again, I sort of quickly described, just running through the agenda, the current test case landscape. The wiki, there's a link in there, testcases.qa.ubuntu.com. I've linked to the checkbox application testing bizarre branch, specifically the jobs folder, which has all of the test cases for those specific applications. And then I linked to the MozTrack project.
Network, sorry. I don't know what's wrong with this. I know what's wrong with the proxy proxy.
And so MozTrack is something that it is the successor to Litmus, which is used by Mozilla to manage their test cases. We ultimately are giving that a buy simply because we don't feel like we have a good way of interacting with it because there's not an API yet to send test cases in and out. And it doesn't meet a lot of our specific needs for having a giant project, aka Ubuntu, and then having specific applications within that and versions of those applications and end up our products being Ubuntu. So today, we're going to talk instead about expanding the isotracker. So I've got a couple of things and brainstorming some ideas about what do we need in a test case management system. So if we want to just take a couple minutes and
can I start with what we already have in the program, the way it actually works currently? Because we do have.
Oh yeah, sorry.
We do have an admin UI.
I skipped that. You were the first thing on the agenda, and I missed it. Summarize isotracker capabilities.
Right. So we've got administrative UI currently that the release team has access to, which lets you add test cases, link test cases to products, and that's what we are doing currently. Except that the only data that you have in a test case is the link to the wiki page. And so we certainly want to change that. Right. It also currently doesn't, a test case isn't linked to a specific series, and we want to change that as well. Because we often test a point release at the same time as we test another milestone, and we don't want to re-edit all the test cases.
Right.
So having test cases be either per series directly, or have a way of mapping a specific test case to multiple series is definitely something we wanted anyway. And that's almost implemented.
Okay, Gemma, do you have access to that section of the?
No, I can't show it.
Okay.
You want to project it?
Yes.
I'm a visual person, but I'm sure there's quite a few other visual people as well, so it'd probably be helpful just to see that for a few minutes.
Sure. So that's the main page of the ISO section of the isotracker. We'll have other instances of it, but that's the main one. So we've got the admin UI in there, where you can get the list of products. If we take, let's say, Ubuntu desktop MD64, we can go into test cases, where we have currently all the test cases that are associated to it. So for each test case, what we have currently, and that's certainly what we need to change, is obviously test case ID. We've got a generic title, which is what you see on the website.
Yeah.
We've got a link currently to the wiki, which we probably don't want anymore. We've got whether it's mandatory, whether it's partially deprecated, so we no longer show it. If it's something we do need to run once before we consider a product as being ready, but not part of an actual install. or whether it's completely optional and it's just a nice to have.
Can we have an action to think the status of the test cases? Because I think we need to figure out what's the lifetime of a test case. And
yes. So that's what I said. At least the bare minimum that I already started working on that we need is to link a test case with series. So currently the tracker has a definition of what series are. If we go back to the main config, we've got milestones. Which you see on the tracker, and you see that for each of them you've got the actual series. So it would make sense to have test cases linked to that. Not necessarily linked to a specific milestone, unless we actually need that.
I think it would make it easier to manage if we had run lists. Instead of adding one test case to one thing, you might want to have group test cases that you can assign to one thing or the other. It might make sense. For things that always run together. Because we're going to have... So my planning is in the next 2 years we're going to be adding in the order of thousands of test cases. So I don't think it's going to be manageable otherwise.
Currently, that's one thing we probably want to change, is that we have a one-to-one mapping between a test case and a product. We probably want to be able to create one test case and having linked to as many products as we want. That would probably make some sense. The actual migration path for that is going to be a bit tricky, but
we'll figure it out.
Okay, so
because from a release point of view, we want to keep the history.
Yes,
I know we have a history going back to Pasty, I think.
So I guess what we need to do is...
yeah, Pasty recently.
yeah. So are we saying then a test case belongs to a run list, which can belong to a series?
Or a run list or a test suite, how do you want to call it? We have test suites, which are groups of test cases, and we have run lists, might have different test cases from... So
I guess you could have a test suite and then a run list composed of test suites.
Yes, that would make sense.
Okay, so we basically, so what we want is we want to have a test case be part of the test suite, which is part of a series, or linked to a series.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would make sense, and that will avoid having to actually take every single test case every time. Yeah. Okay.
You might want to actually add some test cases directly as well in some instances when you don't want to run the full test suite or something. So we are going to have that running in the lab. We're going to have some run lists that are going to be cherry-picked test cases. So I'm not sure whether that.
But you would just create another test suite for that.
We could do that on the tracker if that's necessary.
I think that's going to be the easiest.
Yeah.
But one test case can only belong to one test suite?
No.
Can belong to many?
Yeah,
okay.
that would make sense.
That would be the easiest, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
And you could have, so it's all many to many test cases, or well, a test case can be linked to many test suites. A test suite can be linked to many series.
How are you guys handling testing for accessibility? And is the QA.isotracker actually accessible itself?
Okay, so twofold question. So we have accessibility test cases.
Or you mean accessibility in terms of people with problems accessing the test cases?
Actually both.
Okay.
I mean, I did a lot of the testing for you on server. I didn't do desktop.
Right.
And I know last UDS there was concern that there weren't accessibility test cases for installation, like checking for low vision installations and making sure that actually was something that's possible. And then, also, if someone does have accessibility issues, are they able to go ahead and use the tracker system to help us with that testing and put their results in?
So I guess on the tracker side, I don't know of anything. Is there, have you given considerations to that? I guess there's nothing.
What's the question exactly? Sorry.
Accessibility. I guess there's nothing specific to the site that lends itself to accessibility, although you're not doing things to prevent it either.
I haven't tried it. It should be pretty good. We currently have really limited use of JavaScript in it, so that it shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But obviously, if there's a problem, they need to raise a problem.
I would say
it's a basic Drupal module, frankly, and I would expect Drupal to be fairly well designed so that it works with accessibility. And I'm always trying to make sure that any JavaScript code we end up adding is not required. So that should take care of all that, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so so there are accessibility test cases. I think Alan Bell has contributed some to that. I tried to run some of them, but I guess they don't work so well on a VM. So
Yeah, some of them don't, and I mean, and I haven't looked at them. I know last UDS, they were looking for how do we have able people do the accessibility testing, and one of the suggestions I gave is have someone get a pair of sunglasses and smear Vaseline to install, because now you're low vision because you can't see. Put in earplugs, you can't hear all of that.
I turned the monitor off to see how well that would work.
Yeah, that would work too.
I had dual monitors, so I'm reading the instructions. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Is the use case more like people who are completely blind or people who are visually impaired?
There could be both. I mean, you have people who are visually impaired that might need.
Okay, I think this is a discussion that maybe we should have next cycle
it's really
because we don't even have the test cases in there yet.
Well, all right. Anyway, yes, but it's just well pointed out that all of our test cases need some love and looking at it, and so those are part of it. All right. So what else?
So something I was wondering, because some people mentioned it, I was kind of scared of it. So do we actually want a full history on the test case, on the text?
I was thinking of that before. I was thinking of that before.
Because that's going to take a lot of space, and I'm not sure how relevant it is. I mean,
Oh, I'm sorry, you said do we want more what?
History of the
keeping
test
the whole
case.
history of all changes to the text on the test case.
So I think we need that
Okay.
because of some. We need to have traceability, and there are some government contracts that might or might not come eventually. That might need that history there, so that we can see which version of the test case was running at a particular moment in time.
Yeah, it's probably best just to do it right from the start. If we don't do that, and then later we want an audit trail, which we will.
Yeah, we will not be able to audit anyone.
And we won't be able to do it, so it's better just to plan from the start and to do it right, even though it is going to be.
It shouldn't take more space than any wiki. We just need to.
Yeah, that's the problem. The wiki is taking a space.
A lot of space. Okay.
But the wiki is going away.
True, but yeah, I'm trying to keep the website somewhat responsive.
Do you want to offload that to the results tracker? Because you could just shove your test results there for archival purposes.
I mean, yeah, that's one thing we can do. We could perfectly have some other service archive the whenever we set the milestone as released, snapshot all the test cases at that point. So for your trail, you will have it because whenever we release an image, you're going to have text of every single test case in it.
But how would we retrieve that?
We would just generate that as a report.
Or if you send it to results tracker, you could use Launchpad lib to grab it everything from there and then do your reports.
I mean, it's not useful for us if we have the information on this big block file that we have to go and, I don't know.
Yeah,
but that would be like structured, and then you could.
Yeah, I think for lots of reasons we would probably prefer to keep it in the format that we see it, when we enter it. Simply
We could
for ease of use.
actually split the database and have one database for historic of test cases, and the other one slice the database.
I mean, that's an idea anyway. I was thinking that you would probably want to sort of deprecate the current site anyway as part of the migration, because it would be difficult for you to maintain both database schemas.
No,
because some of the stuff.
currently just switching to test suite and everything, we want to keep it. We'll just move the data around.
You don't think it'd be an issue?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, for sure we don't want to replace and lose the. We want to have one version of the test case per release anyway. That's for sure. We want to have the text be per release, per series. Probably having something that basically lets you say, oh, by the way, I'm putting the Controls release, please copy everything.
But how do you know at the end of the release that that's the test case you run? Someone may have changed it the last day of the release and you lose that history.
One might have.
Yeah. And that's not the test case you actually run.
Yeah.
I think that's a corner case enough to drop to a flat
No, that
desktop
makes you
anytime.
lose all the traceability. You cannot actually, you don't have the timestamp of the changes there. You don't know when the test case was changed, and you don't know what test case was actually run. So that
Yeah,
makes you lose all the traceability.
But if
We
just, like,
might as
have
well
a
not
flat
keep
text file.
history.
I'm just saying every time, like every milestone or whatever that we do these changes, you just dump to a flat text file as Stefan was suggesting.
But then you don't have the date on which the test case changed to something else, and you have lost the traceability, which is the whole point of the exercise. So we either keep traceability properly, or we don't. We either care about that, or we don't. But if we care,
Well, it depends on granularity. Do we need to know the date that it was changed, or the set of results
we
to
need
which
to
it
know.
applies?
It's like a wiki. We want to have full history of the changes of a test case.
Yeah, I think you need to know both the dates and the changes.
Yes.
So, I mean, one without the other kind of becomes useless.
No, but just when I'm questioning those granularity, we do these changes for a test run, right?
No, I don't think you understand. We are trying to do test case management. This has
Okay.
nothing to do with results.
Okay.
It's about how you manage test cases, how you add them there, how you change them
Okay.
for you to be more useful for this release, for instance.
Right.
So you will be changing, tailoring test cases for each release, and you want to keep track of exactly when you last changed and what did you change. So that if you have a result from, let's say, Monday, and someone on Wednesday changed the test case, when you look at that result on Friday, you can actually see that that result is not for the test case you're seeing now, but for the test case that was there on Monday. That's the
Okay,
kind
for
of,
test case management, I agree with you. Good point.
yeah.
Okay, so right, I'm just going to add. I mean, that's easy to do in database. The problem is the server is going to just die after a few months. But
So we
that's not going to be my problem.
might need either more disk space, or we need to design the database in a way that we can actually segment it so that you don't have to have everything in the same machine.
I mean, the database will probably move it to disk instead of memory for some of it automatically.
Which the kind of database are you using?
It's Postgres.
Right.
Postgres, so it should be able
So
to
we,
have
I mean,
Yeah.
let's not limit ourselves by the hardware. We can
Mhm.
solve that problem.
Yeah, if it's a hardware, yeah.
I'm just going to add.
You don't need a performance tune before you implement it.
Yeah.
Stefan, you might like to look into the slowly changing dimensions pattern using data warehousing for representing that in your database. It's designed specifically for tracking changes over time.
Okay.
So it's called slowly changing dimensions.
Let's discuss that when
Yeah.
we're designing it.
Right. Right. Again, don't get ahead of yourself.
So,
That's your action.
yeah,
Yes.
let's,
Because that's basically it. I just remove any function modifying it, and then we need to work around it and just create new entries every single time.
I think we're gonna need to have either a virtual or a real development team for this around you, that you can actually tell them, so you need to do this, you need to do that, because this is more than one person job.
Well, doing the test case change, I think I can do in 2 hours. I just don't like it. But doing the test case, the change itself is going to be easy.
It's going to be big because we need to make sure, everything that's now there we keep, and then everything that's new, it's up to what we need. So
Yeah.
we're going to have to be able to upload test cases automatically as well as manually. So it's not just the UI, but we will have scripts on the web that we want to scan and add to the tracker, so that we can upload automated test results to the tracker as well at some point.
Automated test results upload to the tracker is already supported.
Okay.
There's a Python module for it. I'm using it for the flavors.
Yeah, but if you don't have the test cases there, how do we,
You can list all the test cases directly from the API.
Sorry?
You can list all the test cases directly from the API.
Yeah, but to be able to do that, you need to add those test cases first, right?
Yes.
And the IDs need
But
to
you
match.
just need to do it once.
No, because people are going to be adding test cases on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So we need to have a way to scan for those from, whichever test projects we're using, and be adding them on a regular basis. We don't want relying on people manually going to test tracker and keeping them up to date, because then it's not going to happen.
Yeah, adding new test cases through the API is easy.
So I'm going to give that one to the QA team to put in place test case scanner.
Stefan, have people in the community expressed interest in participating in
No.
development?
No.
Okay. Just to help out, I'm just...
Yeah, they're really good at reporting bugs and telling me what they want, but not so much at actually writing it.
I would actually like to participate, if you don't mind.
Yes, that is an open invitation to the entire room, by the way. Not everything in here, like some of this stuff is more difficult, but Stefan has other changes as well for the isotracker, some of which are not really that difficult. So if you want to jump in, yeah.
Sure. Are all of these manual test cases, or any of these, is there ways to submit scripts that would be tested?
So right now we're focusing on manual test cases, but these guys have
we're going to be submitting results as well that are going to be automated. So in a way, we're trying to unify the reporting of results so that we have a generic view of all the testing we're running, not just manual or just automated in Jenkins. So
Okay.
we need to convert somehow. We don't know if it will happen in Q, but it should happen in the next 2 releases.
Is there going to be any time for bugs and things like that, so we could provide test cases for bugs and then in the future test for regression and things like that?
We started discussing it with the release team to indeed move SIU testing over to the QA tracker. It's the discussion. But
Okay.
now that one, yes.
Okay.
So the SRU testing is not going to be in the tracker?
It might be.
Okay.
We haven't discussed it already, but the tracker supports. We might actually have the SIU website already still up on the tracker. Sure. We used to have it.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Oh, we don't anymore.
So you could actually add another site with another...
Yes, we used to have siu.qa.ubuntu.com on the
Okay.
tracker doing SIU testing on it, but we
Okay, that
deprecated
makes
that
sense.
3 years ago. So yeah, that's all the current instances that we run. Some of them are probably a bit deprecated, should be dropped. But
Then another thing that I think we want to have is a user that is not an administrator, but that can actually add test cases and modify test cases. Or is it going to be everyone?
but
How are we going to manage that?
I think what Gilman may be referring to is the discussion we had earlier where flavors might have access to setting up test cases.
Yeah, not only flavors, community
Yeah,
members.
community members, whatever. But we have to, I mean, if we leave it wide open, then you potentially have people just,
Yeah, we
spamming
don't-
on the test cases, which we don't want, but we don't want to sort of like limit it to a small subset of people either.
Yeah.
Right?
So we don't want people, for instance, changing around series or milestones, because that's something that Kate should be doing, or the release team in this particular case. But we want people able to actually edit the series.
Are some flavors members of bug control team?
No, I was just saying, I don't think any existing team memberships would help us here.
Okay.
yeah, it's a bit tricky, but we will probably find some way need to let them add test cases. Tricky part, we don't want to let it wide open because they're just going to kill the website by filling it with test cases.
Yeah.
Can we add a new role that you can manage within the tracker itself?
Yes.
Do we want to put it in the tracker, or do we want to have it on a team perspective out of Launchpad? I guess that's an open question to you.
But currently the tracker maps team on Launchpad with roles in the tracker. So you can, in the tracker I can say whether a team I want on Launchpad gets that kind of role.
Okay, so it's probably best to manage it in Launchpad. And then
So
to just
yeah, we would
put the
need to
people
figure
we
out
need.
what the right team is
Okay,
and exactly what we can give them safely.
okay.
So I've put
So we probably want to have per product roles to manage products and everything that's linked to them, so that we can give the Ubuntu Studio product delegate management to it to the Ubuntu Studio team, which will let them change their download links, sign off on the image at test cases. Which I think is what we want.
What if instead of images we talk packages? Same thing, right? What if instead of images we talk packages?
Oh, same thing.
Same thing.
It's the tracker actually doesn't have a definition of images, there's a definition of build,
Build. Okay.
which can be anything.
Okay, that's good.
It supports 3 types currently, which are ISO images, packages, and other.
Okay, that's good.
Because we also have the laptop tracker running on stuff.
So I'm putting an action on us 3 to figure out the rolling, the roles, how to do that.
Is it really that bad though? I mean, the isotracker is for a very specific set of members that do QA, and I suspect that if we have tracking of this history of test cases, if we allow any member of the community to add test cases and so
Well,
on.
when you have 10,000 test cases and 400 members of the community and 10 QA members, yeah, it's bad. I don't want to be running around test cases, reading them and trying to decide whether the changes are legitimate or not. I want people that are trusted to be able to make, some changes to test cases and not have to,
Okay.
you know.
I'm suspecting it might not be that bad, but.
It might not, but it might.
I mean, if we can delegate per product or per product families, because we have product groups currently, I think it would be good, because then the different flavors or whoever is in charge of a product of an image or of a package can have the native on Launchpad and give them rights to change what they need.
Sure.
Do we want to put something on there, a button or something? So there's something wrong with this test case. We could potentially have that if we felt like there was a real fear of people finding errors and wanting to say something but not.
We're just going to do that, like in checkbox with like some test cases aren't so good, and having a report about it button so that.
Yeah, actually I would prefer to just add a link reporting against QA website with the QA test case tag.
Yeah.
Because that's how we actually manage that currently, and that would be easier.
Exactly.
I think just a spread table and database just to track how long to test cases seems a bit of a case.
Oh, no.
You have Launchpad.
Yeah, I just meant, putting a link there.
Yeah. So sure, I've already have a bug to add some more links to report bugs against the QA tracker itself to Launchpad. So we've got a project for that, and we've got tags to know if it's linked to the package tracking, or linked to the QA tracker, or linked to the test cases.
Okay. So I think we need to establish some review process for this, so that you don't waste your time and we make sure that we are getting what we actually need.
Okay.
So I'm not sure, because we're gonna be doing different bits and pieces, and then it needs to integrate together. So we're gonna have to talk to each other in like regular basis.
We can take the action on it if you want, but obviously nothing in here is we're just talking about what we want and the work items that we'll have, but we're not. This isn't a plan on how to execute it.
Okay.
Right, but I guess that is an item you definitely have to do.
Okay.
Because we're going to have to coordinate.
Yeah. So I
So-
was thinking maybe using the
All right, so I'll just put it for all three of us.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
currently looking at my current time availability for this cycle, and most of the work is just going to happen within the next 3 weeks.
Sorry?
Most of the work is going to happen within the next 3 weeks. Because after that, I'm going to be full-time on 12.1.
Okay.
Expect the changes to happen quite soon.
I wouldn't like to develop this too quickly and then end up with problems. So if you cannot finish it in those 3 weeks, I would rather take over and have some of our
And currently what we have there is quite trivial.
It's not going to be trivial.
It is trivial.
Okay.
Talking to the man.
Yeah.
I mean, I just need to add the definition of QA of test suits and mapping to arrays. Run one updating database to move all the existing one to an archived kind of one that's linked to all the current products, because we don't have history information currently, so
So we need to run that.
we just move all of them aside into an archived test suite that's linked to all the current products and built to have in the database. And then I basically just need you to create all of them. But that's going to be QA work, not development work.
Yeah. And I'm okay with. I'd like to go iterative with it. So again,
So I mean, usually whenever I do a change, it's taking me an hour to do the change, and then 3 days for Jean-Baptiste to actually put the stuff in the database. But that's how it is.
But you can expect some comments and
Sure.
requests for change on the chains and all the rest of it. So.
that actually brings up a good point, though. Migration. So migration out of the wiki. What are our thoughts?
Yeah, I think what we would probably do is, once the database is extended so that it contains the actual text of the test case, we'll just copy everything that's in the wiki into the archived items, and everything, all of that is going to be kept on a tracker as the archived version of the test case, and then we create the new structure. And most of the text is just going to be copy pasted, I guess, but we'll have new records.
No, we need to actually add expected results. Better way. So one thing before I forget, test case ID. Are you gonna assign them automatically, or are we?
So currently, what we have for test case ID is just an incremental number, which is the database ID.
Yeah, but my worry is that people are gonna be creating automated testing, and they're gonna be assigning their own IDs to their own test cases. So I wonder whether I should be prescribing that people actually put a placeholder in the tracker, so that then whenever we sync the test case, or how are we going to manage that?
So I guess the question is, your test case ID, is it the general test case or a specific revision of the test case?
It's a
I would say it's a general.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we need to add a field for that.
And then the next question is, do test case IDs change between releases?
Okay.
So they shouldn't change between releases, but there should be different tests for different releases.
Yeah, but the tests are the same, which are the controversial ones.
So, yeah, so we'll need to actually add a test case ID field, but it's going to be automatically allocated the first time you push it.
So, if I understand, as long as the text remains the same, the ID remains the same, you change the text, the ID gets incremented, like normalized?
No. Currently, we'll have two IDs in database. We have the actual record ID, which is going to get implemented every time we change something, because we never update something, we just create a new one. Mm-hmm. And you'll have the test case ID, which is basically that thing that you just changed the text of is still going to be linked to the product. And what you'll use to link a test case to a product is going to be its test case ID, not the record ID.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Which of that makes sense? Because you don't want to end up linking a specific revision of a test case to a test thread. You want to link the test case.
Test case, yeah.
Yep. Okay, so
in fact,
so we'll have two different IDs, but
yeah.
Whenever you push the test case the first time, it's going to create the ID automatically.
Yeah, but how? No, but that doesn't work because.
Why?
Because so this is going to be an automatic process, right? I'm going to be scanning test code and pushing those changes or those descriptions into the database. The second time I do it, if they change something, how do I know which test case is the one I need to update?
Well, you have to figure that out anyway on your side, because if you want to update something, it's going to just bump to the record ID. If you want to add a test case, it's going to create a new record, give you a new test case ID.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, that I would like to be able to actually say what's the ID, to choose the ID.
It can be an optional parameter.
well,
If you provide it,
let's not.
keeps it.
You can't choose the record ID,
You can choose the record ID.
but you can choose. You're just asking for the
test case ID. I don't care about the
But we
internal.
want to make sure that
what you
they're
should-
unique.
Sorry, I was here.
I mean, why would you have the tool pushing it specify the ID, where you can just, the first time around, you tell the tracker, add a new test case. It's going to return you the ID.
This test case already exists. It
Okay.
doesn't appear in the tracker the first time. It appears in test code the first time. So let me show you an example of. Do I have an example? Yeah.
I mean, the isotracker needs to assign you the test case, and you can talk about if you need a way of retrieving a unique value for a new
So we've
test
been
case or
talking
not.
about how to name IDs for a while and what the ideal ID should be, and we agreed on having the name of the package that is testing plus a name that is plus a number plus whatever. So
Right.
it's not just numbers; it's also characters that you have there.
Right.
So just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about, because I know I'm being very blurry. So. So we're gonna have in UETH this kind of directory. So I would like that any set of tests that I run that have this kind of structure in the test case control file, there's going to be a test case description, right?
Right, but that's, I mean, I would advise against putting any of that.
Test case description
So-called
has actions, has expected results, has a test case ID, and that ID should match the one in the tracker. So it's up to us to decide what goes in there, but the developer needs to know beforehand so that they can put the right ID so that it ends up in the right place in the tracker.
Yeah, see, so again, I would advise against having the whole concept of having that business logic in your test ID, and it should be assigned from the isotracker.
But then the second time someone updates an action, how do we know where to put a test case?
No, he needs
And then specify it.
When they create it the first time, they run a command that registers the initial one. They get the ID back from the tracker that is, that's your test case ID.
Right.
Then you put it in your file, and from there on in, it's just going to reuse that ID to update it.
Okay.
Right.
So then it's just going to be an incremental number generated by the tracker, which is extremely easy to do on database level. We are going to be sure it will never conflict with anything that we know. And
So then I need to add a title here that is meaningful rather than having this.
sure, the test case on the tracker has a test case title, so you can just name
I
it
can
that
add a
string
title.
for-
Okay,
yes.
so let me give myself some actions there. So,
Also, one concern I have with storing a big string for it is that we need to store a big string in the database for every single record. And I mean, sure, Arbor is cheap, but indexing on strings is slow. Indexing on IDs is fast.
Right.
So it's going to be much easier to go with an index.
but you
So-
could add an index for the string
Sure,
as well.
yes, but the index is
So,
usually
Jim, I
large.
guess this is a question for you. So then, do you need something from Stefan to, do you need a command line web service or something to query, or is it okay that the developer goes out? I mean, how can they?
Well, what I would
reserve
just do is, I mean, the API is obviously going to support adding test case. So they just submit the initial test case through the API, and they get the ID back from the API call. And that's their test case ID.
this? Right.
And if you don't cache it, you can always get it back.
So
Well,
I guess the point is maybe you're going to need some sort of tool, because the test
Yeah,
case
what-
information would be really nice to have in the week, not just a blank test case with an ID out there that says this is an automated test from you off.
I don't like the idea of restricting the test process because the database is going to be slower. There has to be a different solution. It doesn't mean anything to have an ID full number. Maybe we can let them put an initial string there and you assign the number afterwards.
I don't understand why you want that. Why you want that string there though?
Because I want to be able to identify somehow or have an idea, looking at the idea of what the test case is trying to test.
Right.
That's why we have
then,
that
then you need
type
to
of
change
call.
your output. You could create a string based upon your output if that's what you wanted, especially if you wanted it to be specific to a package name or whatever else. It's just not a brilliant idea to put that in an ID field.
That's how all test cases are indexed everywhere.
Can we just
What do
have
you
a
mean
separate
everyone-
map?
I just yes, if they're indexing things based upon.
That's
I mean,
the
if-
recommendation from all
it's-
the boards. I mean,
that's a whole side conversation.
it
So I
makes-
guess we'll agree
Yeah,
to disagree.
yeah.
But
How
no,
about
you
a
don't
separate
put stuff
table
like
that
that in an
maps
ID.
the numerical IDs to a string?
sorry,
How about a separate table that maps the numerical IDs to a string?
that would solve the problem. And you could identify clashes there and give an error if someone has a repeated ID.
That's just denormalizing the link table. It's just offloading the problem elsewhere. It's
Yeah.
the same problem.
Same problem. But
Well, no, it actually solves the problem.
It fixes the index problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you need to join every time you do anything, and then you're postponing the problem. of
yeah, and then you're
indexing,
maintaining outside of the database. You're maintaining something, and so that if that breaks, you're completely dependent upon that. And if something goes wrong there, you're going to totally mess up.
So you're going to
The
get rid of
internal
all the current IDs and just give numbers to them. Because right now the IDs are strings.
Yeah, but we don't use the IDs for internal tracker at all.
Yeah, okay, but we might need to start doing that. Because that's the
I mean,
way people
you're
read
always
it.
perfectly free to leave your current ID in the title if you want to, because title is free to export.
I think
Right.
usually when there's a problem like this where people want freeform text, they want tags. So if we express those as a tag, would that work for you?
Yeah, that's what it looks like, right?
So How about you add?
I'm just saying, yeah,
text?
you can make your output say anything you want. I mean, you can make it follow any format.
So I would like to be
Internally, the
able-
ID
so-
shouldn't be that.
Okay, so I would like to be able to submit this ID. So let's say I try to submit this test case, right, as is. So I send you all this information, including the ID. And if the ID is already there, you tell me, this is already there, you need to change it. So I change it to whatever, and then it eventually will succeed. And you have your number, like Max said, and
All right.
my ID.
So is there more stuff? Can we table this for a minute? I don't think we're going to solve this in the next time.
Okay, so
Because it sounds like
so we need to have this discussion.
we can come back to it if we've got more
Yes.
time. But I do have a question about where on those
I certainly disagree with letting the user choose the ID, but yeah, we
But-
discussed that.
Okay, so let's get them use the first part of the ID and then give them a number.
We'll discuss it. We'll discuss it. But this is a similar question though. On those test cases, obviously you have your description there, your expected results, your actions, and that's all in a control file for UAuth, right?
Yes.
Okay. So what does the test case, what does the isotracker have in its database for that test?
The tracker will have, well, obviously record ID, test case ID, a title for it, and then a freeform storage for the actual text.
Okay, so we will make sure that those are one and the same.
Yeah, I'll have a process
So what
running
happens?
somewhere.
What happens when you're updating it on the one side?
Whenever someone makes a change to that description, I will have a process running every hour or so and updating the tracker. So I will need to be able to query the test case, and if it's different, I'll make an additional, or the other way around. If you see it's the same thing, you don't add it, and not do whatever.
Okay.
It's just a batch process. That
Right,
goes through
okay,
all
so
the
you're just
tests.
gonna asynchronously
Yeah.
keep those together?
Yeah,
But it's
because-
not extremely critical because no one is gonna actually be looking at them.
No, it's just about us uploading the results to the right test case text.
Now, how does that work though for auditability on that as well?
Same thing, because whenever we add a new text, he will keep the history of the old one, and from today onwards.
So really, maybe you don't need a service. All you have to do is every time you fire off a new result, you just check what's in the data. So this is my result for this test case, and this is the test case text that I ran against it. And if it's different than the last time we
That's
ran
not
that
part
test
of
case,
the JSON format,
Part of the what format?
the output format.
well, I mean, I think it's something you need to think about because
That's what we do in certification and with Ubuntu Friendly, exactly what you're saying. Because instead of doing it like, treating test cases separately from test results, we just link the two together. This is the result for this test. Here you go. And if it needs an update, we update the test case.
then you update it, and that way you keep your auditability, so you know that test case ran at that time with this test. And
Okay,
this one.
that makes sense.
Right.
Test case.
And then you don't have to worry about trying to sync them either.
We need to understand it.
Okay. Good. What else?
But that removes the possibility of querying if the ID is already there.
Well, you're not going to be doing that.
Yes, I am going to be doing that.
Okay, what else? We don't have to go back to that discussion, do we? Come on, it's going to be something else. All right, so why don't we sum?
So, yeah, how are we going to share test cases across flavors? We need to have like, are you going to do that link internally in the database? Or
Yeah,
if a
well,
test case-
Well, they can have it-
before, a test is going to be in one or multiple test suite.
Right.
Who's going to be in one or a link to one or multiple series.
Okay.
So the flavor would just go on the web interface and pick all the test cases they actually think makes sense for them, link them all into a Ubuntu test suite or something, and then link that to Precise. And that's it.
Yep.
So I'm adding a task for you. Could you, whenever you have the changes, set up like a demo instance so that we can
there's
test?
iso.qa.dev.sql.org that's always running current track.
iso.qa.dev.sql.org.
dev.stgraver.com.
Or
Or
like that.
yes.
So it's not setting it up, which is set up, but let us know whenever there's something there that we can testing the test
Mhm.
tool.
Yeah, it's usually running, whenever I actually push a new change to it, they usually load a new dump from production website on it, so it's usually up to date.
Okay.
Okay.
For my edification, how does the isotracker get results to its API? Is it the Lava format?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
Currently, we just have an XML RPC API, but we want to allow the Lava format as an input.
Okay.
so
That's
that,
the ultimate plan.
yeah, to
I probably
convert.
should have an action item on actually implementing that format as an input.
Do you want me to add this here?
Sure. Yeah, don't think I took it at the last isotracker session, so I probably should.
So, given that we have the Lava person here, do you think we can add the test case info to the format without much problem as a text somewhere?
The test case for what?
So we are going to try to couple test result with the test case text itself, which we have available in the framework as well. So can we actually submit a result along with test case in any of the fields of the format?
You mean into the result itself?
The result,
Yeah, you can have flexible attachments.
any JSON inside there that
Yeah,
you
you
can.
can attach text or picture here if you want. Whatever. Yeah.
So we basically have to identify this attachment. It happens to be the description of the or the information for the test result. So we just need a special case in your parser to say, oh, this attachment is not like other
The
attachments.
attachments have a name.
Yeah,
Like a file.
but like you need to do like look for that name.
Yeah,
Because
the tricky part actually is going to be to check the rights, because not all users will get out to actually change test cases. So if you send me a different test case text with a result, and you're allowed to submit the result but not a test case,
That
so you
makes
can
sense.
say that too
No, wait a
bad
second,
to
though. You're
you.
wanting to do that for each, not for the entire result, though, for each, not for the entire submission, but for each result.
exactly.
We have that attachments per result? Why don't you just, I mean, we have like a test ID. I mean, but why would you want to track the description of the test along with?
One that was tested.
Because the test,
But you know that based on the test ID.
the test may change without changing test updates, right?
Yeah, that's what we were saying.
No, if the
The
test changes,
test
then
case ID is not going to match the specific content of the text.
Yes.
so this is your project, right? Or is this not you? Or yeah?
No, this is something else.
Ah, okay. I was trying to find the format. Do you know what it is?
It used to be linked off of lava.readthedocs.org. I don't know if it still is. I went looking for it a while back.
Lava dot.
Readthedocs.org.
Read the docs.
Like that?
Yep.
Dot org?
.org. You never even know that you read the docs?
That's something that
So
I didn't know it was here. I always search
start
it.
thinking about
Go to where it says lava-bundle
You need to
format.
start thinking
About
about
halfway down the page in the middle.
of anyone creating test cases.
Lava-dash.
Yeah, it's just moving to
Scroll past it. Scroll up. Lava-bundle format, right in the middle.
That's
Ah,
good.
there you go. Yeah. So this is the schema. So I was going to.
Right.
All right, so do we want to go ahead and summarize and see if there's anything we missed?
Yeah.
Well, there's one little problem that we haven't solved.
Okay.
If we bundle that in the Lava format, and anyone can essentially create new test cases.
Well, no, he's already mentioned that. If you
Yeah,
want-
but
yeah, but
not
it's
a
going
solution
to,
for that.
if you don't send me a text that exactly matches the current one database, it's going to say no unless you also happen to have the required rights to update it.
Okay, cool. I'm happy with that.
That's
right.
Yeah. There's no way we let users change the test cases.
Unless you're one of those special.
Unless you are one of the special ones who.
So we can have the lab with privileges.
Right, the lab will have
We
a-
said
The lab will be a
test
privileged user, right?
cases. Yeah. Okay.
And if we have anybody else who's setting up automated test cases that we actually feel useful, we can set them up with privileged users as well.
Yeah.
So a test result does support attributes, which on any of the classes that support attributes, you can basically just give it a free-form key value there.
Okay. Okay, I will work with you next week to figure out how do we solve the ID problem and what our lava format is gonna look like. I'm gonna grab Joe for that as well.
Is it worth having a task for Stefan to do some training on developing for the isotracker? Or you or anyone else interested in?
It might be, but if he doesn't manage to finish it, we'll actually take over. We'll assign someone to it.
Yeah, but therefore the handoff, perhaps, is that worthy of a task?
If it needs to happen, but so far he seems to be confident he's going to be able to do it.
How do you feel?
The initial database changes are not that difficult.
So if he does the changes and then we can actually just fix the
Scalability
effects.
might become an issue at some point, but it's something to be integrated.
Just making sure that you're not a single point of failure.
I think I do have a task from the general isotracker to make an attempt to build a community around it. And so part of that, obviously, will be getting more people involved. And as people get involved, asking them to document as they get involved is a pretty helpful way of doing that. So.
Excellent.
Okay, so I'm adding one task anyway. So some of the new guys that will join our team, you can actually give them some training, so that if you don't have time to fix some problem at some point, we can have someone else doing that.
Yeah, it's going to be a usual tricky thing. Like, I've got sufficiently few time that I think I can do everything, but if I need to train something, someone is going to take enough time that I won't be able to actually do.
But that's fine. Okay, we can have this.
So we'll figure something out.
Yeah, as a task for the whole release.
It's not the high priority task. The priority is finishing it, and then from there, obviously, we don't want to be put in a situation as we want to use the isotracker more and more. We don't want to.
So let's say you decide to move on tomorrow. We don't want to be left with something we can maintain, right? Sorry, yeah. Oh, has ended.
Decided lunchtime day.
Oh, we have another one right now.
I think so.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I have to run again.